Glazing and Design Configurations in the Education Sector. Welcome to Building Knowledge 101. In this video, we'll explore design configurations in educational facilities, including the strengths and weaknesses of compact facilities when compared to campuses and enclosed courtyard configurations. So let's take a look at the state of our educational facilities in the U.S. 28% of public schools were built prior to 1950. Many of these were built very well structurally. They're sound buildings, and many have architectural features and designs that are classic, and it'd be great to preserve them. 45% of public schools were built between 1950 and 1970. During the 60s and 70s, there's very little concern over energy efficiency, thermal performance, or interior thermal occupant comfort, or aesthetics, as cost cutting was a bigger concern. Oftentimes, this type building is taken down, a new one built in its place, or a new site is selected, and construction for a new building, and the older building then is repurposed. The life expectancy of a building is driven by the age of its major systems. These typically last an average about 25 years. If renovation would be included of all of these, a decision needs to be made based upon what percentage of new construction does renovation become less advantageous. Whether a school system decides to renovate an existing or build a new facility, the end results must meet the definition of a well-designed building. Autodesk defines a building by saying that each facility is built to house people to accomplish a unique task. Each building needs to be designed and built to ensure the occupants are able to successfully achieve their unique task. Let's take a look at some common school configurations. This is a typical single roof block style design. These start out as a single building. They can have multiple floors, but are focused on having a single roof with all resources consolidated together. The interior is divided into multiple hallways that divide various disciplines along the hallways. Pros are you can maintain limited access to the buildings. Major systems tend to be all the same age, and it's easy to deploy school resources throughout the building. Cons are limited to no natural light to all the classrooms, limited access to outside learning areas, and difficult to expand. The opposite of block construction is a campus design. Here, instead of dividing disciplines into areas under a single roof, they are given their own standalone buildings. Pros for this configuration are the approach gives expanded exterior walls, greater natural lighting, and greater views. Students get exposed to sunlight changing classes, and there's some exposure to physical activity when changing classes. This also allows greater access to exterior learning areas. Cons are it requires a much larger first layer of defense. It might lead to multiple points of access. Typically, new buildings are added as needed, so maintenance schedule is building by building, and major system components can vary across the campus. Here's a newer, more contemporary courtyard configuration. This consists of multiple buildings, each housing various disciplines, but they are laid out in a closer configuration around a central courtyard. This configuration allows for exterior gathering areas and outside learning areas, but limits access to these areas. Pros here, there's limited or controlled access to the courtyard, which does allow for activities while changing classes and provides access to outside learning areas. Here, students are exposed to sunlight in the courtyard area when they're changing classes. Cons are each building has its own major systems. Resource officers are spread out, and coordination is required to direct first responders to the correct location. That is all we have time for in this video. If you'd like to watch more of our 101 video series, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Kawneer Company, Inc.